Well, we turn to some points from law, and Mr. Moyosore Onigbanjo joins us now. He's the senior advocate of Nigeria to help us make sense of some of what we've been hearing. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, let's talk about the temporary voter cards and the permanent voter cards. I mean, the House of Reps had that session where they thought that, in fact, they advised INEC to ensure that people also use the TVCs. Like a group of lawyers or group of people have also gone to court saying that, look, they think that if INEC insists on using the PVCs, given the fact that not many people, I mean, some people have not collected those PVCs, even though they've attained the age of 18, that will be tantamount to disobeying the legal provisions, both in the Electoral Act and the 1999 Constitution. Is that the case?
Well, you know, my take is, look, INEC is empowered with the statutory powers to register voters. They've registered voters severally. It's a continuous process because even as we speak, after the last registration exercise, quite a number of people have crossed the legal barrier to be registered. And you have to have a cutoff point. Otherwise, you can't even hold any elections. The last one, which they did, they said, okay, we're crossing over to PVCs. Everybody who has a temporary voter's card should cross over to PVC. Majority of the people did. Then again, you have to also recognize that not everybody is going to go there because it's voluntary. Voting is voluntary. Registration is voluntary. So if I decide not to register, there's no law that stops me. If I decide not to collect my PVC, nothing prevents me. If I collect my PVC and I don't vote, there's also nothing. So then, how do you now say that you want to fault INEC for insisting on PVCs? We need to take that step forward. We've been voting with temporary voters card, and our elections have not attained that level of credibility which we want.
Yeah, but the question now is not about these three classes that you've mentioned.
Yes.
It's about the people who have these TVCs and cannot get their PVCs for no fault of theirs.
Haven't tried severally.
Well, you know, haven't tried severally and they cannot get it. True, they're not, you cannot disenfranchise them. But we need to look at what is the percentage of these people. Because before, maybe about a week ago, the larger problem was that the PVCs were not available. But now, the PVCs are there, people are not really collecting them. You can't force people to pick them up.
Okay, let's cite part of the section of the Constitution which they cited, Section 77, subsection 1, paragraph 2, which says, every citizen of Nigeria who has attained the age of 18 years residing in Nigeria at the time of the registration of voters for purposes of election to a legislative house shall be entitled to be registered as a voter for that election. Now that category, which Marco talked about, so if they've attained that age and they've registered, they've got their TVCs, they've gone to try. If they cite this point from the law saying, due to no fault of mine, I was not able to vote, will they have a point?
Yeah, they have a point because INEC cannot, nobody can violate the Constitution. That the courts will protect you from you know, the courts will protect you, they protect your constitutional right. If you are 18, and it says at the time the registration exercise was being conducted, you registered, you have a TVC, and due to no fault of yours, you cannot get your PVC. Yes, you have a case to make that, look, I am entitled to vote in this election. But the thing is, courts have to strike a balance between stopping, let's assume now that there are maybe 1 million people in Nigeria and 99.9% have their PVCs. And one person doesn't have the PVC. Elections have, everything has been done. The court has to strike a balance between whether it is worth it to stop the election for that one person or in the larger interest of the polity to go ahead with the elections. Because otherwise, if we go by that strict interpretation of the law, these elections will never hold.
What if, at the end of the day, 10 million people don't have their permanent voter cards and then they tried, or for whatever reason? Will it be sufficient?
Like I said, you strike a balance. Of course, if majority of the populace, of the registered voting populace don't have their cards, then it becomes a really big issue. It becomes a big ticket issue which needs to be looked at. But, the danger with all this legalities are that the Constitution also gives a time frame for having the election. Once we go out of that time frame, then you cannot have that election again. And we will, if we get to that pass, what we are going to have is a constitutional crisis.